Hi, Pam.
Hi.
How are you?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm good. I just wanted to check everything is working.
Seems to be.
Okay. Pam, I'm hearing an echo. I think that's because you're not wearing earphones. So just if you can wear earphones. Hello? Yeah, it's good now.
Is that better? Yeah, is that better?
Hi, Anna.
Hi.
Yeah, it's better now. I'm not hearing echo.
Okay.
Okay, so Anna, you are here in this room. I'm gonna go check the different room just to be sure everything is okay. Andy will be joining this room soon. So he will kind of kickstart it and then he will introduce to Anna and then slowly he will bring everyone on the screen. Okay? I'll see you guys soon. No worries. See you soon. Bye.
Bye. Hey, Pam, how are you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
Very good. Exciting to see we have a lot of people connected and live. That's very good to see always.
Excellent. I'm going to take my headphones off really quick. Tell me if you can hear me okay, because someone said there was an echo, but I'd prefer not to wear them. So give me 1 second.
Sure.
How can you hear me, okay or no?
I hear you well, yeah.
Yeah, there's no echo?
Wait a second. Can you talk again?
Does it sound okay or is it echoey?
It's a little bit, there's a bit of a chamber kind of
All right, I'll put headphones on.
But we can still hear you fairly quickly. You go ahead and test. Okay, all right. I just understood a little more about Hopin, so I got nervous when my link wasn't working, and then I realized that we could just it would recognize our email and get us on stage.
I got nervous when it said you're joined as a viewer, and I'm like, a viewer? Can I share my screen? But then it seems like it's letting me do everything. I haven't tried to share. Do you want me to try to share really quick just to make sure?
Yeah, just to see. That'd be great.
In the meantime, can you please, Phil, tell me, do you hear this?
Yeah.
Yeah. Can you guys see the screen?
Yes, yes.
Okay, perfect.
We can. That's perfect.
I will unshare for now until we get started then.
Great. Good. So I've presented a little introduction, and Andy, you'll start us off, right? Yeah, we could hear you.
Good.
So Andy, you'll kick us off. I guess you'll frame the whole creative collisions and Montreal Newtech, and then pass it over to me. I've got a little intro to talk about the AstraZeneca challenge, very high level, who I am, who Anna is, who District 3 is, and then I'll introduce the panel. We'll go through the ground rules, the 4 minutes. Pam, you can have 5. And Anna has her little chime prepared to let people know that time's up.
Philippe, I think there's already people here, so let's maybe wait for the start. So what time exactly we started usually?
We're scheduled to start at 1:45, but the other session, the plenary sessions, I think running a little long, so I think it'll take.
Sorry, Andy, before we go live, I maybe contact the other startups to make sure that at least the panelists are here.
Sure.
Hi.
Yeah. Here we go. Hi, Sumitra.
Hello, Philip. Hello, everyone. Nice to meet you all.
So I thanks for calling, Sumitra. Sorry I couldn't take your call when you called.
No, I just wanted to be sure, but yeah, I seem to have found the right room.
Perfect. And you'll see at the bottom of the screen, if you have a presentation to share, there's a monitor, the third icon, and you can share your screen from there. Okay, Brunilde's in the room. We can't hear her. Let me just...
She might need to tap the button in the top right corner. It took me a moment to realize that as well.
And it did for me as well. So Dr. Sanson, if you can hear us, there should be a button that allows you to check your audio and video. And I can see if I can get in touch with her too.
So Andy, I'm leaving for a second so that everyone has space. Please be back in once you're done with your part.
Right here, we don't have screen sharing rights. At least I don't. If you can disable it for me, that'd be appreciated.
Okay. Andy, can you work that out?
Okay, I managed to disable it myself. Let me.
To share the screen.
If you don't mind, I'll just do a split second. No, it should be okay.
Okay. And Brunilde, if you can hear us,
Sorry.
just make sure that you use your email, the same email address you registered. She has a Linux system. It should still work though. Browser.
I think we're still waiting for Pierre as well.
Yes, as I think the stage is live, right?
Okay, so Andy, we have both Azadeh and Brunilde SANSO that can't get into the onto the stage.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. And Brunilde, if you can hear me, in this top right corner, right above Andy on my screen, I know this is going to be trippy. I don't know if you see something here where it says leave for me. It asked me to enable my audio and video, and that brought me to the actual stage. So maybe that's helpful.
No, so she doesn't have that. I'm just wondering how we can get her in. Andy, can you think of another way? Should she try logging back on, or?
Yeah, I will try. I will see.
I'm also using Linux and Google Chrome, so I think it's just the email they sign in maybe might be the issue.
Yeah. Yeah. Let me try this. I'll just add the link to.
Okay. So I think Brunilde, she has the access to share the screen. I have it said, telling me. So you just need to click in the blue button in the right corner.
Okay, at the top right, there should be a blue button that allows you to share audio and video. And for those just joining us, we're just trying to collect all of our panelists. Apologies for the delay.
Yeah, we will start in a few minutes.
All right, so we're missing Azadeh, Brunilde, and Pierre. just see if I can get in touch with Azadeh.
So I think we just will wait for the main stage finish. So I hope in the next 2 minutes.
Thank you. Got it. Thank you. Oh, gosh. That's a nightmare.
Okay, we found one, but I don't have Dr. SANSO. I'll see if I can get in touch with her. And we don't have Pierre Berube, right? Okay, so we're missing a couple people still. Let me round them up.
Just a quick question. How can I share my screen for presenting? Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay.
If you click on the little computer monitor icon
Share
at the bottom.
Yes, got it. Okay, that's good.
Do you want to test it really quick?
Sure.
Over there. Looks good.
Does that work?
Yep.
Can you see my PowerPoint?
Yep.
Sounds good. Okay.
I see, Philippe, we might start. I don't know what is happening with BRUNILDE, the rest of panelists.
What made it finally work for you when you were trying to log in?
I cried. I'm just joking. So the things that I have a 2 account with this. So you have to use the one that they sent you invitation.
Okay. Okay.
So I had a Gmail one and Whitehall Tracer. I entered with my Gmail, but I had to come with my Whitehall Tracer.
Okay.
Okay.
Hopefully Brunilde can join.
So Philippe, who is missing?
So I found Pierre Berube. There he is. Excellent.
Hello, magic.
And we are missing still Brunilde from Polytechnique. Yeah, and she's having any.
Okay, I will try to find a solution for that. She might. So Brunilde, you might see kind of in the top right corner a blue button to share your video on Zoom. Just please click there. If not, you will use a star. I will try to find the way to put you in the video call.
Okay, so why don't we try and get started, and then
yeah, sure.
And then if Andy, if you can work behind the scenes and try and get Brunilde on, I'll make the introduction, and hopefully we'll get the problem resolved. The room is filling up. We have about 40 people in the audience so far, so we may as well we may as well start now. Andy, set us off, and
okay,
we'll take care of the rest.
Sure. So sorry for the delay. So welcome everyone to this creative collision. My name is Andy Manel. I am the super connector at Montreal Newtech. At Montreal Newtech, we really believe that new tech adoption to bring innovation that build a better world and a better future. we are very happy, very excited to talk today about wearables and Internet of Things and all this kind of exponential technology that can bring us a bright future. So let me introduce you to the moderator of the session, Philippe Thompson, who is the healthcare stream lead at the C3 Innovation Center. So without more delay, please, Philippe, you have the lead now.
All right, thank you, Andy, and hopefully we can get Professor BRUNILDE SANSO up on the stage behind the scenes. So good afternoon and welcome everybody to a session of Creative Collisions. Today's challenge is brought to you by AstraZeneca, who wish to explore the novel technologies and innovations for remote assessments such as wearables, sensors, digital biomarkers that can help improve patient-centric outcomes in heart failure and or renal disease. So my name is Philippe Thompson, and just to correct Andy there, I'm not the lead, but I am the venture associate for the healthcare stream at District 3 Innovation Center, the high-tech startup incubator affiliated with Concordia University here in Montreal. Joining me today is Anna Fernandez. She just popped up on the screen, biotech specialist and acting venture associate for District 3's BioStream. Anna will be helping me moderate the meeting today, keep me in time and check, and monitor the chat box as well to field your questions from the audience members. So for those who don't know District 3, or D3 as we often call it, we're a community of dedicated to collaboration, innovation, and entrepreneurship in the fields of medtech, health tech, biotechnology, fintech, and social innovation. Our mission is to nurture and develop multidisciplinary startup teams that harness emerging technology to create businesses with a global impact. So also joining us today is Pam Hill, Associate Director and Head of Open Innovation Program at AstraZeneca. Pam will launch AstraZeneca's Co-Solve Challenge today in just a moment. But before we begin, it's also a great pleasure to introduce the startups we've invited for today's session. First up will be Pierre Bérubé, CEO of Greybox Solutions. We have Azadeh Dasmalchi, CEO and co-founder of Vital Tracer. Azadeh, just by the way, because this is important, Azadeh has recently been named one of Canada's top 25 women of influence in 2021. And she's also an alumni of District 3, so we're very, very proud of her. Sumitra Rajagopalan, founder and CEO of BioAstra Technologies. And finally, we have Luca Kucha, CEO and co-founder of Fila AI. Also on the program, and I don't see her on the screen, so we're trying to get her up as soon as possible, is Dr. BRUNILDE SANSO, who is professor at the Department of Electrical Engineering at Polytechnique, Montreal, who specializes in the design and optimization of telecommunication networks as they relate to smart cities, the Internet of Things, and 5G, among others. So our plan today with AstraZeneca is to present their challenge. We'll give the startups and Dr. Sanso about 4 minutes each to present their organizations and technological solutions. My colleague Anna will keep me in check and signal the teams when their 4 minutes is up at the little chime. And we'll give each participant, each startup, a chance to ask questions to AstraZeneca, to Pam, and we'll also provide Pam the opportunity to ask questions to the participants. So that should take us about 20 minutes after the more formal presentations, and then we'll open up questions to the audience. So we invite all members of the audience to actively participate. Just type your questions in the chat, and Anna will monitor the chat and help us read them out at the end of the session. So without further ado, and to begin, over to you, Pamela. Please start us off.
Great, thanks so much, Phil. I really appreciate it. So I'm sending my screen share now, so hopefully this will be coming over to you, and you're able to see my screen.
It's coming up.
Perfect.
There.
Lovely. So you're able to see it in full screen mode?
Yeah, we see it perfect.
Perfect. Okay. So thanks, Phil, for the kind introduction. So as Phil mentioned, I'm Pam Hill from AstraZeneca. I'm coming to you today from my living room just outside of Boston. I'm based at our R&D facility, which is in Waltham, Massachusetts, just outside of the city. And I'm going to introduce to you today one of our co-solve challenges. So at AstraZeneca, for many of you may know, AstraZeneca is a global pharmaceutical company looking for treatments for diseases in 3 main focus areas. We work in oncology, in respiratory immunology, as well as cardiovascular, renal, and metabolic disease. And our overarching goal is to deliver life-changing medicines for patients. The challenge in doing that is we recognize that while we have some great scientists who work at our company, there is incredible science happening all around the world all the time. And in order for us to really deliver those life-changing medicines, we need not only the expertise that resides within our organization, but we also need to engage with the innovation that's happening outside of our organization as well. So we launched our co-solve program in September of last year to help address part of these challenges. And so what our co-solve program aims to do, it's a collaboration opportunity where we propose challenges that we are facing within our organization, and we're looking for startups who are working in those fields who want to collaborate us to identify novel solutions to some of these challenging problems. The goal is to form partnerships with a startup where we work hand in hand as a team to deliver these solutions. And as I mentioned, we first launched in September of last year with our first round, and our second round of co-solve is launching on Monday. And what I'm going to share today is one of the challenges that's going to launch at our challenge on Monday, to kind of give you guys a sneak peek at the types of challenges we have. And we're really looking forward to the great interaction with not only the startups that have been invited today, but also with the audience who's here, wants to learn a little bit about what we're doing. So one of the challenges in running clinical trials is how we can put the patient at the center. And there's a lot of digital technologies that exist for, say, monitoring vital signs and things like that. I'm wearing my smartwatch right now that can tell me what my heart rate is right now. And those have really been game changers with how we're able to monitor patients, especially in clinical trials. But as part of our patient-centric approach, we want to extend that beyond just the monitoring of vital signs, and we're looking for ways that we can impact other parts of the patient journey. And one of those is patient-reported outcomes. Patient-reported outcomes are a critical part of not only a clinical trial experience, but even part of treating a disease or a condition. And oftentimes, these patient-reported outcomes, they can be very subjective. There have been a lot of improvements in how patient-reported outcomes are captured. You know, what used to be a paper survey that was filled out in the doctor's office now may be an app on your phone. And so that certainly improves the ability to collect some of that data, makes it easier for the patient and for the treating physician. But what it doesn't do is help remove some of the subjectivity that goes into those patient-reported outcomes. And so we're talking about things like, how bad was your headache today on a scale of 1 to 10? Are you feeling more tired or less tired today than you did yesterday? And those can vary a lot depending on the person who's asking the question and the state of mind of the person answering the question. Did they have a good day? Did they not have a good day? That can have a lot of impact. And so what we're looking for in this challenge is identifying mobile technologies that can collect that patient-relevant data to improve clinical research. And we're looking for specifically replacements for those patient-reported outcomes. These can be any way to make a remote assessment, such as a wearable, a sensor, a digital biomarker. It could help us in, like I mentioned, in the conduct of a clinical trial, or it could help a patient in monitoring their own disease, in helping to manage their own disease. So we're seeking kind of solutions on how we can utilize these digital technologies that already exist to answer some of those questions. You know, so we're not looking for, say, a digitalized form that someone would fill out on their iPhone, but perhaps a technology that maybe already measures heart rate and respiration can tell us how someone is breathing today. Is they breathing better? Are they breathing worse than they did the day before? So I just heard the chime, so I will stop there. So that in a nutshell is our challenge. And now I'm gonna stop sharing, hopefully. Well, thank you so much.
Excellent, Pam. Thank you very much. I'm gonna ask Pierre Berube from Greybox Solutions to share his screen and present his technology.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. And thank you so much, Pam, also for the very helpful. So I will present Greybox very rapidly. So wait a second, just okay, it's better with full screen. So just Greybox as a company, you know, we're kind of a whole startup. We've been into the industry for more than 10 years. And basically, we worked with Big Pharma, right, to develop a guidelines-based remote patient monitoring software, and also what we call here the digital therapeutic engine to better manage patients. Today, we're focused in heart failure, but also in diabetes and COPD. So far, we've invested more than 6 million in our technology. Basically, it's sponsored by Roche Diagnostic in Beringer and Galine, and Invest Quebec here in Quebec, and we're currently deployed in several hospitals. The way that we developed our journey today is we've started with the first big unmet medical need, which is heart failure, and we focus basically with two products. The first one is Take Care, which is what I call the superior remote patient monitoring, because it also includes a guidelines-based regulated digital therapeutics engine that help support patients in their treatment. Basically, what we can do, yes, we can track any sorts of IoT. So we're connected right now with the Apple, Google kits to make sure we can bring all those sensors and making sure we can also optimize the treatment. And when we're talking treatments, we consider today large database, AI. So today we have access to lab results. We have access to all other signs that comes also from the hospital data. We are engaged with three revenue models. The first one is licensing and payers reimbursement. So in the US, it's for sure there's reimbursement for CMS, which is fantastic for remote patient monitoring software. And we can bring that value really with that digital therapeutic engine that really complements standard RPM that are normally just standard busy. If you look where we have a real impact in terms of solution is what we offer today is following an admission and hospitalization. So we're really into specialty treatment. So what we want to make sure is that patients with heart failure don't get readmitted within 90 days. And today, 40% of that population is readmitted, and this is where we want to act. So we want to act on 50% of that population. The reason why that population is readmitted is four main reasons, and this is what we learned through clinical studies. First of all, they're under the wrong treatment plan. And mainly the reason is because we don't manage their comorbidity properly. People with heart failure also live with diabetes, COPD, high blood pressure and cholesterol, and we have to act this as a complete personalized treatment. Secondly, a lot of workflow inefficiencies, lack of resources, and basically the healthcare teams are not optimized. And finally, very low adherence to treatment. So where we stand out is basically we did four things. First of all, we ensured the interoperability with the hospital IT infrastructure. Looks simple like this, but we did a smart on fire interface that talks with any EMRs to make sure we can capture data, IoT, and actually bring our engine to integrate and update and synchronize with any guidelines associated with treatment. So today guidelines are heart failure, COPD, and diabetes. We optimize those patients so you can see a real impact for patients and providers, because today patients, they have an application, a mobile application, and provider gets a dashboard where they get smart triage and they can gain on efficiency. So today a nurse can track up to 500 patients remotely. We have developed strong partnerships into real-world evidence generation. And finally, we're affordable and ready for reimbursement. So this is the main and key drivers at the end. 82% of patient satisfaction. We reduce medical costs by optimizing treatment, complications, and efficiency. We have a nursing ratio that we're never seen on the market. And finally, patients are more engaged because they have treatment that respond to their challenge.
Fantastic. Thank you, Pierre. Merci. We're going to move on to Azadeh from Vital Tracer.
Thank you, Philippe. Can everyone see my screen?
Yes.
Okay. So all of us has experienced rising in our blood pressure. For example, when we go for a job interview, or me right now giving this pitch. These rises are normal, but in some people, it becomes serious and need to be addressed. Hi, my name is Azadeh, and today I'm presenting you Vital Tracer, a medical smartwatch which is measuring all your vital signs through your wrist, especially for blood pressure. 1.56 billion of people globally suffer from high blood pressure. It includes 80% of elderly, and it's still first reason of death. It can cause also kidney failure or renal disease. Canada alone spending $250 billion annually to treating this chronic disease. The current device available on market are cuff-based. Cuff goes around the arm, inflate and deflate, so it's inconvenient, bulky, and not possible to continuous monitoring. Different studies show that it's possible to prevent hypertension by diagnosing it at the early stage, but it needs a device to continuous monitoring, and with the cuff device, it's not possible. That's why the solution became a Vital Tracer, a medical smartwatch, which is measuring all your vital signs through your wrist, using optical sensor and AI technology. So we are not only measuring blood pressure cuffless and continuously, but also measuring oxygen level, skin temperature, respiratory rate, and heart rate variability, and even more. So we can do a personalizing, diagnosing, and treatment as a monitoring. How it works, it has a different biosignals, biosensor at the back. It measures different biosignals from the wrist, send it via Bluetooth to the smartphone, and from smartphone to the online dashboard. It can do analysis and report, summary, and it's easy to share with your family doctor and or care provider. We have an extensive team of experts, including myself, who has a 12 years experience in the biomedical area, AI technology, and wearable. We are not only selling our technology as a hardware, but we also have a SaaS model for healthcare provider and or patient caregivers. We, of course, could customize our technology in terms of hardware and or software to the other companies. Right now, we are selling our technology only to academic and for clinical trials and hospitals. Why? Because we give them raw signals, they can concentrate their own clinical application and clinical trials, and we can customize for them. They will publish a paper and we will receive a credibility. But our main target market are more specifically our senior homes who need to monitor seniors, all of them in a real time and at the same time. Also hospital for post-surgery monitoring. We have a patent for this innovation with a fast skin. And that's my favorite slide. The main differentiation between us and Apple's that they clearly cannot monitor blood pressure. And we could localize our cloud for the hospital and or senior homes to keep all the confidential information. We are a medical device. It means that the accuracy of the result is same as other medical devices.
People will not be able to see you right now. So can you click on share audio?
No, you can see me, I guess. It says,
So you are there already?
I think so, yes.
Okay, yeah, okay.
Here's someone else.
Can
But
you see me?
raise the money and you're doing manufacturing, FDA approval. With the vital tracer, your pulse is going to be in your hands. Better yet, on your wrist. Thank you.
Fantastic. Thank you, Zade. Next up is Sumitra from BioAstra Technologies. And
sorry, I sent you the. I've been again disabled from screen share for some reasons, but I sent it to you by email. If you can help me pop it up, that'll be much appreciated. Or you can pass on to somebody else while waiting.
Okay, well, let's do that. Let's move on to Luca, and I'll find your presentation and I'll share it on your behalf, no problem.
Thank you.
Luca, are you ready? Okay, Luca from Fila AI.
Awesome. Thank you, guys. So yes, my name is Luca Kucha. I am the co-founder and CEO of Phyla. I'm very excited to be presenting to the audience AstraZeneca as well as alongside all these excellent companies. So really just to start on, give you guys some background on what we work on. Really it all resonates with this fairly simple mission of improving the lives of the silent sufferers of chronic disease. And we use that word silent sufferers because I think, as many of us know, our medical system is not truly adapted for chronic disease. We're good at treating acute problems, but when you have a chronic problem, whether it be heart failure, whether it be a renal disease, and even whether it be some type of long-term inflammatory condition, it's pretty clear that many of these patients really have to take their health into their own hands. So what we're trying to do is improve the lives of those individuals through comprehensive. So what we've done is created the first one-stop shop for chronic health. App that can track a patient's diet, lifestyle, symptoms, medications, and so on, really all the relevant aspects of their health. And on top of this, provide comprehensive support. So for us, that means sending kits to the patient, whether it be microbiome testing kits, genetic testing kits, or blood testing kits, providing evidence-based supplements, rigor, and are supported by the medical community and advocacy groups, and even offering, at a deeper level of care, virtual consultations. And when we talk about this, it goes beyond. This includes mental health professional, a dietitian, so that again we can really provide the support for the patient and really help them on any point in their journey through chronic disease. And again, patient at the center. And important to that is capturing all the relevant aspects of disease over time. So for us, that means capturing diet and lifestyle and so on directly in our application, but also integrating with other technologies that are already available out there, such as wearables, so that we can make the capture of information. Here, more specifically, we'd be discussing sleep or activity. At another level, testing for us, we don't want it to happen once. We want it to happen multiple times over the course of the patient's disease, so that we can begin to use testing as a means to predict when excessive symptoms or even dangerous symptoms might be occurring, so that we can ultimately avoid them. And what I'm showing here at the bottom is an animation of the microbiome changing over time. So think of it as a diabetic taking a prick of their finger to understand what their blood glucose is and address it before it becomes a problem. We want to do a similar approach with the microbiome, genetic testing, and so on. So all of this really comes together with the intention of creating a better future for chronic disease. And that means, things such as Pam brought up, patient-reported outcomes, biological testing, as well as secondary forms of information, such as how patients are adhering to their medications, their background, and their lifestyle, to create this comprehensive and longitudinal data set, which then allows us to provide all these different offerings illustrated here in the center. And this is definitely more of the pharmaceutical-related offering, but in context, post-market monitoring and response prediction, really seeing how therapeutics are impacting patients in the real world, aiding with clinical trials so that we can make sure the right patient is included at the right time, at the right point in their pathology. And even in the future, and drug discovery, as well as digital therapeutics, so we can actually change the future of these patients instead of just addressing them. And just to close out here, just to illustrate, again, I know this is a lot of images, a lot of names, but we ourselves are a group of patients, physicians, and research. So we do understand all the aspects of health that are necessary to provide for these patients and really put them at the center of care and improve their lives for the long term. So that's Phyla in a nutshell. And again, thank you so much, and looking forward to answering questions from the audience. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Luca. Sumitra, I'm having difficulty. I haven't received your presentation, so I'm going to move to Professor SANSO, and we'll come back to you, okay? If you have a Dropbox link or something that I can access outside of email, that might work. Brunilde SANSO, you're up.
Hello, finally here.
And thank you for joining.
After 3 different browsers and 5 different links, I was able to get in. Okay, so do you have the presentation? Because I don't see how this can be shared from my screen.
Okay, I can pull it up for us just now. Give me a.
Okay.
Well, Philippe does that. I just want to remind everyone, please continue posting your questions in the chat. I'm going to those and organizing them so we can ask them at the end once the speakers and the researchers finish their pitches.
Okay, so I don't know, Philippe, if you can show the things. So the presentation I'm going to make is about slices and squirrels. And you may wonder why I'm going to talk about slices and squirrels in this type of break room. First of all, I'm going to talk about slices. So Philippe, can you show the slice? Okay. So what is slices? It's a notion that we have in 5G. And the notion, essentially what it is that we are going to have this network, which is the 5G network. What it has the ability to rearrange itself so that we can provide a different network to different verticals. So you can have like the intelligent transportation system, the energy, the manufacturing, the financing, and you may have, so this is the next slide, Philippe, you may have health. So you may have, for instance, someone like AstraZeneca could very well have this slice of the 5G and say, okay, we are going to have all the exchange of information is going to be done in our own network. So this a slice of the network is really your network. So AstraZeneca could very well be a service provider for everything that is connectivity related to wearables, for instance. And this could be done within a 5G network. So these are the good news, is that the technology allows you to do that. Now, there is, as I serve as an example this morning, technology is also very tricky. And sometimes there are problems with technology. So maybe, Philippe, you can show the next slide. Okay, so what is it, how is that this slicing notion is put in place? The slicing notion is really, you have a physical layer, which is the one on the bottom, completely on the bottom. And when you request a slice to the physical provider, what you are asking is for virtual resources of that physical layer. So you have different virtual resources are going to give you the different layers that I'm going to show it here. And what is happening is that those virtual resources are in data centers. And so they can be all over the world, all over the city, all over the country in data centers. And you can have really networking equipment in data centers. So this is let's say, the technical part. Now I'm going to talk to you about the bad news. So Philippe, can you show me the squirrel? Okay, this is a squirrel, okay? And this is a very particular squirrel. Well, I don't know if it was the squirrel that was responsible or not, but in 2018, there was a massive failure in the MUHC in Montreal, which is the McGill University Hospital, for everything that was related to information. And the reason why there was this failure, it was because there was a power loss in a Hydro-Quebec post that was due to a squirrel. So the squirrel just touched two cables and there was this power loss. Unfortunately, that power loss affected a data center. So, and in this data center, there were most of the information of all the hospitals, even the ones that were on the West Islands, were affected by these failures. So what I'm telling you is, first of all, the importance of reliability and the robustness. So there is an opportunity with 5G to have this new type of connectivity, but there is also a problem, a potential problem, is that this type of connectivity is given with virtual resources. So in this case, you know, the squirrel was able to shut down the information of several hospitals. Well, you may have a squirrel that shut down the information of a complete network. So this is something that has to be taken into account. So this is the good news and the bad news. And I wanted to tell you about this situation, which can be interesting to know if you are thinking about wearables and about connecting people to their information in real time, for instance. That's it.
Thank you. So now try and queue up Sumitra's presentation. Just give me a moment here. I've only got 2 screens, so I'm trying to get it right here. Okay. There we go. Let me try that in just a moment. There we go. And we'll find it.
Okay, thank you, Philippe. It's a pleasure to be meeting all of you virtually. I'd like to, I guess, have to present the whole challenge and the whole industrial context from a different perspective, that of the interface. BioAstra is a company that specializes in smart materials, smart skins, and artificial muscles. So our angle of attack into an opportunity like this would be via, obviously, the interface rather than any electronic readout or IT. Despite having been around for more than a decade, the field of smart materials and smart textiles is quite niche. Very often it's a problem looking for a solution. The pandemic and everything else that happened the last year brought a sense of urgency into continuous monitoring and continuous health monitoring in a medical setting and even in an ambulatory context. So with that fresh perspective, here's what we have that I believe could be part of a solution, and I emphasize part. Next slide, please, Philippe. So a little bit about us. We're primarily a smart material company, smart materials and biomedical devices. Till the pandemic hit us, we were playing a longer game, developing via open innovation with many companies, including GSK and AstraZeneca, the next generation of medical devices enabled by smart materials. Since March 2020, we pivoted the entire platform towards more frontline solutions, first with smart labels for masks, smart fixtures for masks that are both in the marketplace right now in Canada and the United States, as well as now actively vaccine labels that you see in one of the pictures for the millions and billions of vaccine vials being distributed as we speak. And our affiliation with AstraZeneca is via their manufacturer in India. That's the world's largest vaccine manufacturer. The challenge as presented by AstraZeneca, or just the world of wearables in general, is intriguing for us for the following. If you can move on to the next slide. Predating the pandemic itself was technology we had developed in 2017, which is a new type of wearable. And this wearable consists of three things. It's at its heart simply a conductive textile, not unlike many you see in the market and in development. What makes our textile unique is that it's able to do three things. It's able to, of course, electrically sense, as one would expect from any electrode or a spaghetti of electrodes on the chest or on the head, but it does it through fabric weave. Number two, what it does is that it provides force feedback. So it's not simply a bilateral or a bidirectional electrical interface, it's also an electromechanic interface. So if we're talking about any pulsation that has to be recorded, not just from an electrical perspective, but a mechanical, our conducting textile is able to do so. However, the most fascinating part is, and that's why it's called an artificial muscle, is its ability to change shape and to actually contract in response to an electrical stimulus. Our flagship product till 2019 in development was one of those compressive stockings that you see in any drugstore, which are probably too tight to wear for renal return. We were able to develop a active sock. So it was really a sock once worn that is able to do two things, as the next slide would demonstrate. It was able to send pulsatile pressures of up to 40 millimeters of mercury and up and down to mimic counter pulsation that you normally expect from a cuff electrode that's typically driven pneumatically, and also provide force feedback, and given its electrical properties, also act like a conducting electrode. For those who are interested in a bit under the hood details, it's essentially looks like a battery, but it doesn't behave quite like one. So we're able to basically take very normal and plain looking garment and turn it into an artificial muscle and artificial skin, as well as take a sea of or a spaghetti of electrodes and make it very nice and fabric-like. The next slide will show some data. I said just a snapshot of 2 data points that are interesting. The one on the top right shows precisely what I mentioned, that it can send, it can produce pressures through cyclically, as one would expect from a pneumatic pump, except it's just fabric. It's just a sock doing it. And at the same time, concurrent to applying pressure electrically, it's also able to sense that pressure. And at the heart of obviously one mechanism, which is actuation, the second one sensing, you have obviously electroconductive textiles. We see such a technology platform as being an adjunct to regular wearables, and looking forward to a discussion.
Sumitra, fascinating stuff, and sorry we had to cut you off there, and apologies for the formatting of the screen there. Not sure Adobe and my Mac are working together on that one, so I apologize for that. Let me see if I can unshare, stop sharing. All right. So now what I'd like to do is open it up to questions, and I'd like to invite our speakers. If you have any questions for AstraZeneca related to the CoSolve challenge that they have for remote monitoring and wearable devices. And if you don't, I have one. So let me get started. And sorry to put you on the spot, Pamela. So many times we find ourselves challenging the startups at District 3 to quantify the opportunity of the markets that they're targeting. And I'm just curious to see how AstraZeneca is measuring the market opportunity for patient-centric wearables. In other words, are we talking about thousands of patients that you want to monitor, or hundreds of millions of potential users down the road? I'm trying to size it up in my mind.
So one of the things you noticed about our challenge is it's very broad. I didn't read all the text in the challenge, but if you read through it, it said treating any renal disease or heart disease. And so while our specific interest is related to the diseases that we're treating, we're looking at those patients, but we're envisioning that any wearable or technology that is identified that could, say, treat one specific segment of a disease that we're looking to develop a drug for would likely be used for that larger disease population. And so these are pretty broad populations around heart disease and renal disease. And so we envision that there's actually a huge market out there. And again, looking at patient-reported outcomes, these are used in not only in clinical trials, but also in the management of disease. And so I'm sure someone within the organization has actually done the calculation on how many patients that is and the impact that that would bring. But to your point, because I obviously don't know those numbers, but to your point, that is a key consideration in, we're looking to improve patients' lives. And it's not just for the very small subset of patients we might be looking to treat, but if it can be for, the larger of patients afflicted with that disease, then that obviously would be the goal.
Fantastic. Are there any questions from the other panelists?
I think I saw Azade's hand go up.
Azade? Okay. I didn't see you before. Sorry, I cut you off if I did.
No worries. Thank you very much for this opportunity. I want to ask Pam about what's the requirement, I can say minimal requirement to be considered to accept in this co-solve challenge, and what's the maximum things, I mean, the real impress you, what's gonna really impress you?
So that innovative idea, we're not looking for companies that say already have a neatly tied up product that can do exactly what we've suggested we're looking for and it's ready to go off the shelf. What we're looking for is someone who has a technology in some level of advancement. Either it could just be still conceptual, it could be something that you're already marketing, and the key idea that says we can transform this into what you're looking for, and high level, here's how we do it. And then someone who comes straight out and says, we want to do this, here's what we need from AstraZeneca in order to do this, because we're expecting, since we're not aware of these, what we're looking for already on the market, whereas it could be there, we haven't found it yet, there's so much out there. But if it's not, we're not looking for someone who says, oh, I have this technology, these are the things I can do to get it there. We're assuming someone's gonna also need something from us, that we can bring to the table, be it access to our clinical trials or our patient populations or, patient samples, even development technology, you name it. And then also one of the key, and again, I didn't have all the details related to co-solve in my slides, but I did pop a link to our webpage in the chat. So definitely you can go learn more there. And our new challenges will be live on Monday. But one of the key things we're looking for is to bring solutions to these problems in real time. And so we're hopefully looking for solutions that could come to fruition within 18 to 24 months. We're not necessarily looking to embark on a project that's got a 7-year timeline, because who knows what we're going to be doing 7 years from now. It may still be looking at this, but it may not be. And so these are the challenges we pose are problems we're having today. And so we're looking for near-term solutions for them.
Okay, thank you very much.
Mm-hmm.
Excellent. Any other questions? Brunilde?
Hi, Pam. I was wondering, I'm a networking person, so I'm interested in the networking aspects of what you're proposing. And have you thought, I mean, if you are monitoring, if you want to monitor people, then you want eventually to send it somewhere. And I was wondering, first of all, if you have a platform that you have thought of. And second of all, I wonder, this is more technical. I would like to know, you know, how quickly you have to monitor people. I mean, if you have to send messages, how many messages you send? Do you have to send them by the minute, by the second? You know, that's what I would like to know.
Yeah, great question. So we're primarily looking at the treatment of disease, which I think is a little bit different than the maintenance of disease. So in the maintenance of disease, you may want to look at some sort of continuous monitoring. And I think Azadeh had kind of flagged that when she was talking about the vital tracer and looking at things as they're happening. But in the treatment of disease, you know, so if we think about AstraZeneca running a clinical trial, we're not typically looking to say monitor constantly. We're likely going to be wanting to monitor at specific intervals, say maybe when a patient takes their daily dose, or maybe it's just checking in on them every couple of weeks to monitor something. So we're likely not looking at continuous monitoring. It would be more infrequent monitoring than that. As far as system integration, I don't think I can answer that question. It's a really good question, but outside of my purview here, but it's something that I could definitely flag to our internal team. And if you want to have more discussions on it, definitely can connect you on that. But I think, and I may be wrong, but typically we wouldn't be looking at this, collecting this data ourselves. We'd be doing it through the physicians who are running a clinical trial or through the physicians who are monitoring the disease. And so I don't know if that would tie into existing systems they already use, or if we'd also be looking to put a new system in place to handle that kind of monitoring. But like I said, that's beyond my knowledge around the challenge, but definitely a good question to flag.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, Luca, Pierre, any?
Yeah, I mean, I could definitely follow up on even something Azadeh bringing up, and just this idea of, I think we all can appreciate the importance of, you know, providing these more remote capabilities for monitoring and things like this. And especially when we talk about clinical studies, the thing I always think about is bringing it to another level and actually monitoring the patient in their native environment. So let's say at home. So, because obviously we understand that there's different batch effects or different types of noise that can just be inherent from a person being in a clinic versus when they're at home. And that's why for blood pressure, it's very common that you take measurements and present them to your physician. So just out of curiosity, has AstraZeneca, you know, pursued virtual clinical trials just to get an understanding of, you know, kind of the real world experience of the patient itself in response to the medications that they're developing or even, you know, out in the market already?
We are now. I think that's one of the things that COVID has shifted the industry a lot in. I would say in general, that wasn't something as far as my awareness, and again, AstraZeneca is a very big company, we weren't doing as much of that. But, you know, one of the big things we saw with COVID, in addition to the challenges you highlighted around the comfort of being in your native environment and getting potentially more authentic measurements. The other challenges are, we saw that people stopped taking their medication if they had to go into the hospital setting to do it, or they weren't doing their follow-up appointments. And so I think the whole industry is tending to shift towards more virtual clinical trials. And I think we're seeing that there could be multiple benefits to that, you know, aside from just the patient being nervous about going to the hospital because of getting sick. It can affect, you know, it's not only nervous about going to the hospital. Did you almost get in a car accident on your way to the hospital? And that's why your blood pressure is high. So absolutely, there's a big shift now to doing as much remote monitoring and as much in a virtual setting as we can. Absolutely.
Thank you. Fantastic. Pam, do you have, before I turn it over to the general audience, Pam, do you have a question for any of the members that have spoken today? I'm curious to see your state of mind at this stage.
So I'm really curious, and this is just a general question for all the companies. You know, as a startup working in this space, what are you finding to be the biggest challenges, either in identifying collaborators or partners to help develop your technology, or as a challenge in kind of getting acceptance of your technology, getting it into, say, a clinical trial, or getting, you know, regulatory, you know, approval to use it?
I'm happy to speak first. Definitely when it comes to, you know, COVID presented many, but it's also related to the question I asked as well. You know, for us, we had 3 clinical studies that we received grants for, but patients stopped coming, really move to a way and go through an entire new ethical approval.
Rapidly.
Pierre, do you have
Oh, did you go on mute? Is Luca still talking? He ended up on mute. It looked like he was still talking. Did you finish, Luca?
I think someone muted me. I don't know where I was, but I can summarize it very quickly. For us, the challenges were really clinical trials, but also really capitalizing on the beauty that creates. Allows us to really optimize our digital tools for remote management, allows us to bring care to more people, and increase the resolution of our study as well, and make it so it's not focused on a geographic area and widens out, which is even interesting for us as a data-based company. But on the other side of it, when we talk about more the partners we're pursuing, it's always having a great understanding of, I mean, maybe you want to call them the vendor qualifications that are necessary from a company such as ours, before we can move forward. And you know, the word early innovation is definitely thrown out a lot, but what that actually means is sometimes very difficult to understand. So just to get an idea of the companies that exist out there that have been partnered in terms of staging and what that really looks like for a company interested in partnering with large industry.
Absolutely. Pierre?
If I may jump in briefly, you would probably know better than us, but the field of wearables has been overhyped. Of course, it's not the only field that's been hyped for too long, and maybe companies like ours surfed on the wave maybe 5 or 6 years ago, where everyone and his uncle was imagining color-changing shirts and your T-shirt that senses heart rate, or your jogging pants that could give you an early sign of whatever. We found that hype never translated quite into reality. And if I were to put my finger on the one thing that prevents, I'm talking about widespread adoption of wearables in a larger context, it's the powered aspect. So whereby electroactive polymers, to use our own example, was considered the next big thing in textiles and so on. Now there's a tendency that if anything that's unpowered, anything that is responsive without requiring its own powered electronics would be, I guess, something that would have an better adoption than powered. In the very niche clinical context that you bring up, I think it goes back to Philippe. For a company like ours, we would like to know the numbers we're targeting. Clinical trials, despite everything, remains fairly niche compared to, say, the bigger opportunity of, I don't know, saving 1 billion people from heat stress, that we would be more likely to go after that than something which might, in my years at least, sound very niche and first world.
Thanks, Pierre. We haven't heard from Pierre, so I'm just going to give you an opportunity before we open it up.
Thank you. Though very rapidly, but in terms of the challenge, you know, on our end, we are in that big fight, you know, to try to bring patient-centric technologies bundled with medication, right? And that's the future of digital therapeutics, and we want to make sure that those bundles get reimbursed, because that's the key. And today we're working on value-based agreement and outcomes metrics to make sure we can bring a lot of value to healthcare providers. So that's really our top challenge. We have good results, good publications, and we can see the benefits, but we need players like you to be our sponsors, right? Because we're small, you know, we have 10 employees, we're fighting, but our voice, it's difficult to get our voice to the government. So that's really the type of collaboration we're looking for at the moment.
Absolutely.
Excellent, fantastic, guys. So Anna, why don't if you fielded the chat, do you have a couple questions? We probably only have time for one or two here before we have to go to the competition.
Sure. Yes, thanks, Philippe. We have actually pretty cool questions. Thank you so much, everyone, for participating. I'm gonna ask one question, trying to summarize a bit some of the comments from Isabel Vecina, Claudia Noel, as well as Res. They were wondering about the patient's perception about these devices. How do they feel about wearing this? The fact that their data is being collected. That's the first part of the question. And then the second one is, how do you handle confidentiality as well as recording a lot of data in a computer or whatever it is that this data is being recorded?
Yeah, Anna, your bit was cut.
Sorry, I was wondering if Pam, you want to start commenting on that?
So maybe I'll defer to the startups, given that they're actually making a lot of these wearables. But just wanted to acknowledge that data privacy is a top concern, I'm guessing, for all of us. You know, and that we consider patient data a gift, and because we can't do what we do without it, and so we are always focused on putting the utmost security around managing patient data, absolutely. But I'm going to defer to some of these other great presenters as they're actually developing these devices and collecting some of this data, what their thoughts around that are.
Sure, I can add to this. I can say that it was a great opportunity also to structure a little bit more the agreement with the providers and the healthcare systems. And as you can see right now, you know, there's a software as a medical device and all new certifications in place to support technologies, IoTs and devices, which is a good thing, you know, for patients and providers. And today, but there's a clear path, right, on the FDA 510K. There is a clear path here in Health Canada and in Europe with CE. So I believe we have to make sure we respect those guidelines, and that way everyone's safe. You know, no one will own patient data. It's going to be, for example, your provider. It's going to be part of your healthcare systems that will actually manage this data.
Anyone else? That was great. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'm happy to expand on that as well. And it's for us, you know, clearly we're capturing a lot of information from patients. So we have a huge cybersecurity focus on what we're doing, and we receive grants to develop even novel security for patient data, mostly on kind of like the federated learning side of things. But we are also, another key component of that is being very clear that you're capturing data. We make it very clear to the patient that they have agency over the information they're providing. They have the right to be forgotten if they so choose. And really make it clear in our messaging, you know, we're working with chronic disease and we want these patients to be part of the solutions we're creating. And the easiest way for them to do that is providing their data. So I think it really comes back to the messaging and the way that you convey this to patients and actually involve them in the process of building your technology. And really just have respect for those, you know, in terms of right of being forgotten and so on. But again, for us, it's very much so a language driven and an intent driven conversation.
Fantastic. Anna, do we have time for one more, just to squeeze it in and call it a day?
Let me see. There was a quite of interesting question that was directed for Pam, also from Isabel Vecina. And since it's related to the challenge, I'm going to put it out there. She was wondering if you have thought about the partners of the patients for this data collection, because your challenge, if I understood correctly, is focused on asking the patient directly how they're feeling, what's their emotional, physical, and so on. But if they're wondering if you also consider the partners that maybe could support as well that report.
Yeah, that's a really, really great point, because it's not only the patient that is on this journey, but it's their support people as well. So absolutely, you know, part of our patient-centric approach is considering not only the patient, but their support staff, their support people, be it a family member who's helping them. With relation to this challenge, I guess hadn't really thought about that, but there's definitely something to think about there. I think whether, you know, we could get insightful information from a support giver as well. Or is there a technology that would be, you know, potentially a wearable for the patient that the support person could add, you know, a beneficial kind of aspect to? And I confess it's not something I've really thought about, so I think that's a really great point to flag, and I'm going to flag that to our internal team as well.
Excellent. So it's just past 3, and we've now run out of time. I apologize for the technical issues that we had at the very beginning and over the course of the breakout, but I hope everyone enjoyed it. I certainly did take a lot out of it, and I really appreciate the time that Pam from AstraZeneca and the presenters today from the startups and Professor SANSO. Really, thank you for participating in this. So for more information, I think it got into the chat, but for more information or to apply to AstraZeneca's CoSolve Challenge, please visit openinnovation.astrazeneca.com/CoSolve. And for more information on services offered by District 3, please visit us at district3.co or come by our virtual kiosk immediately following the effervescence competition that's just on starting now, which begins right now on Hopin. And thank you to Montreal Newtech for organizing this Creative Collisions event, and to Invivo Montréal, the organizers of the 2021 Effervescence Conference, The Future of Life Sciences. Thanks for all joining us today, and please follow us on social media, where the future of life sciences is happening right here in Montreal. Thank you so much, and thanks again. Have a great day.
Thank you.
Thank you, Phil and Anna. This was a lot of fun. Thanks a lot.
Thank you so much,
everyone.
Thank you so much.
Philippe, we can share the link for effervescence pitch competitions right here, because I've been trying to find it. Some people, I'm sure they might be interested in joining. I'm not sure if it's going to be streaming here on Hopin, or we have to go back to the effervescence page.
I have a feeling I thought it was just on this stage at the same link.
Okay, then let's.
I'll try that now and see what happens.
Right.
Thank you, Anna. Bye.